Now, days before South Africans go to the municipal polls, both the Democratic Alliance and the ANC are claiming victory over cyberspace. They're adamant that they have the greatest dominance over social media and that they are using sites like Twitter and Facebook to win the hearts and minds of the voting public.
Days after President Jacob Zuma first tweeted his thoughts on democracy, and already DA leader and Twitter queen Helen Zille is preparing for a cyberspace turf war.
Well, I do my own tweets. I'm on Twitter and I think I've got 3 times as many followers as Jacob Zuma. Last time I checked, that was the case.
However, analysts are already predicting that Zuma's popularity on Twitter may very soon dwarf Zille's. But the president has come under fire from some of his followers for failing to respond to their tweets. The ANC has rejected that criticism.
We have 2 choices. He's either going to sit on his tweet deck all day or he's going to run the country. I'd prefer the latter.
Sisulu says the ANC is serious about social media. But does social media have any real power to change people's minds about who they're going to vote for?
It can make a difference, particularly to a party like the DA. So I understand why they've made it a strategy.
I had already picked a party, and I found that some of that party's representatives and how they represented the party on the medium did change my perception of the party.
A number of political parties have promised to provide live coverage of Wednesday's poll on Twitter and Facebook. Karen Morn, E-News, Johannesburg.
So just how influential is social media going to be come Wednesday and Thursday? Joining us now, Jonathan Houston, online marketing manager with the digital advertising agency Taluma. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Is this going to be the first South African election driven by Facebook and Twitter?
It's definitely going to form a major part of what's been happening with the election. Whether it's going to be driven by social media or not, that remains to be seen. If they're trying to echo and see what Barack Obama did in his last campaign, while they're getting a lot of the moves right, they're not 100% there yet.
So where are the gaps then?
The gaps would be largely in the interaction that they're having with the general public. If you look at the 2 main horses that this race has basically been run between, the ANC with Jacob Zuma only recently starting to tweet on Twitter. He's got 15,000 odd followers in basically a week, while Helen Zille, who's been tweeting for quite some time, she's got double that with 31,000 followers. There's not really much conversation happening yet in between the voter and the electoral candidate, which needs to happen for it to really get inculcated into the social.
So in other words, it's very much a push strategy. The message is going out, but nothing is coming back.
There's very little coming back in. It's starting, but I think also where South Africa is with this digital media, it needs to take that next step, and this is definitely the best start that we could have asked for, and the right platform. With government starting to use it, it really pushes it down to the people.
How much difference does it really make, Jonathan? I mean, can the optimum use of social media actually influence results significantly?
100%, it definitely can. Social media at its core is about people. It's a social network because of the fact that the people drive it. It's the best place where people can have this conversation and say, what are you doing, how are you doing it, and show me some results. So definitely can influence it.
Are those who are on Twitter and Facebook not simply preaching to their own fans, in other words, to the converted already?
Yes and no. The perfect part about it is that you can gain extra followers through it, and by having your fans retweeting your messages and spreading the news further, you're reaching a far larger audience who possibly aren't followers of yours already.
So how does a political party or candidates formulate a proper social media strategy? In other words, what should be put out there?
It's a top-down strategy that needs to be followed. It's from what your main campaign message is, what your main driver is, what are you trying to achieve if you were to get elected, how do you push that down, and then it's answering questions across all the networks, from Facebook to Twitter to YouTube to LinkedIn even. Show people what you're about and talk to them.
But the important thing is to make sure that you answer in time.
100%.
Often that doesn't happen.
The speed of social media is exactly what the point is. The fact that it's there, it's on, it's 24/7. People can contact you when you're not there. But the danger behind social media is, of course, the fact that it's not policed and it's not monitored.
Well, that's my next question. Where are the inherent risks? And specifically as we get closer to Wednesday, is there a danger of smear coming into this?
There definitely is. There definitely is a danger of smear, but it is in answering those messages, like you said, in time as they happen, that minimizes the risk of that. everybody's talking about the different parties. Whether you're joining that conversation or not is what's going to make the difference.
Who's the audience here? Is it rich kids in Sandton, or is it a little bit more widespread?
It's definitely more widespread than that, judging by the fact, again, that Jacob Zuma has been tweeting for such a short time and got 15,000 followers already. It shows that it's not just the rich market in Sandton. The fact that the ANC...
But it's predominantly urban versus rural, isn't it?
It's definitely predominantly that. The key to this election is still going to be go out to the masses and see them. But this is definitely targeting at the heart of it, where the economic hubs are, and that's what the important vote is.
Of the two, we seem to be predominantly focusing on Twitter. What role does Facebook play?
Facebook definitely has a role, but it's not as fast-moving as Twitter does. It's it's more of a conversation, and it's more around what the community feel is, where Facebook is Twitter is individual people with individual messages.
So, again, is this going to make a huge difference come Wednesday? Will we be able to quantify in any way the influence that social media has had post the election, or is it impossible to do that?
It's largely impossible to do, but there is possibly a way that we can draw comparisons between pre-social media and post-social media. Of course, there's other influences that are going to play effect as well. If there is voter apathy, people are coming out to the polls as well. It's going to be very difficult to see. But by analyzing the online reputation management of how the different parties have gone about, looking at the sentiment of all the tweets and all the mentions that have been around their social profiles, we can definitely get a sense of how it's going to affect it.
Jonathan Houston, the final question to you. In time, is social media going to be the only marketing platform that drives politics? Will we see an end to badly constructed television ads, bad radio spots, and the ubiquitous poster that is nailed to the tree? They shouldn't be nailed to the tree, but often they are.
Sadly, the answer is going to be no. It's never going to draw an end to where the mass media can reach. Social media is definitely going to become an increasing part in where the parties are positioning themselves. But sadly, it's never going to be the only medium that people use.
Appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us. Jonathan Houston with us from the digital advertising agency Taluma.